Boker Tov Rabotai. It is Ches Iyar and the 23rd day of the Omer. We are continuing the Mishnah Yomi with the second parak of Sheviit. Yesterday, in our discussion of doing agricultural activities, Erev Sheviit and Motzei Sheviit, we mentioned that one could start working in a normal way the trees after Sheviit, even though there's still figs on that tree from Sheviit. So now Mishnah Zayin is going to talk about a critical concept of when does fruit belong to that year. So for example, if you're picking a fruit on the Sheviit year, does that mean it's Sheviit fruit? What if that fruit actually blossomed and budded the year before? It would actually belong to the year before. Though there is one fruit, Rabosai, that is an exception to the rule. It's mentioned on Rosh Hashanah 15, that there is a fruit that we treat like a vegetable, and by vegetables we go after the year that they are picked. So even if a vegetable started growing in the 6th year, if you pick it in the 7th year, it's Sheviit. By grains and olives, we go after shlish, after 1/3 of their growth. So if it had grown already, ripened to 1/3 in the year before Sheviit, then even if you're taking it on Sheviit, and we'll discuss later in the Mishnayos that yes, you could take things, and commonly things were hefker on Sheviit, then even though you're cutting it, bringing it home on Sheviit, it grew a shlish, Erev Sheviit, so it's Erev Sheviit produce. But Mishnah Zayin explains there are some exceptions to this rule. Ha-orez, rice, v'dahan, millet, ha-pragin, poppy seeds, v'shumshmin, and sesame, famous for Sesame Street, Rachov Shumshum. Shrishu, if they rooted lifnei Rosh Hashanah, mit'aisrin l'sha'avar, you take meiser for the year before, mutarin b'shviz, and they're mutar in the sense they don't have kedusha shviz. So what's going on with the meiser is that there is actually a cycle to meisers. The first, second, 4th, and 5th year, they are regular meiser. So the meiser sheni, a man would take to Yerushalayim and eat it in Yerushalayim, or redeem it, bring the money, and buy food in Yerushalayim. The 3rd and 6th year, it goes to meiser ani. And the 7th year, there's no meiser at all. It's pater from meiser because it's Sheviit, and it's like hefker, we're going to see later on. So these particular crops, if they took root, is what is the cutoff point. So if they took root before Rosh Hashanah in the 6th year, they are 6th year produce. They get meiser ani, and they're not subject to Sheviit sanctity. Im lov, if they had not rooted yet, asurim b'shviz. And again, asur doesn't necessarily mean they're asur to eat. It means that they're going to be made hefker. There's going to be a zman beer. We're going to see later. Mit aisu neshana haba, and the meiser is going to be with the next year. Meaning, even though there's no meiser on the 7th year itself, but if something was planted at the end of the 3rd year, they put it in the ground at the end of the 3rd year, but it wasn't really mashrish, didn't take root until after Rosh Hashanah in the 4th year, so it's produce of the 4th year, and it would be meiser sheni and not meiser ani. So you really have to know what the cutoff point is. And again, there's different cutoffs for olives and grains, and for vegetables, and for fruits. We go after what's called chanata, the blossoming, though there's one exception. If you know it, then hit me up. And but here, these rice, etc., these have a different cutoff, the hashrasha. Mishnah Ches, Rabbi Shimon Shizuri, Omer Pula Mitzri, Shizar L'Zer Batchila, Kiyotzi Behen. He says the Egyptian bean, which is, some sort of legume, some sort of green bean-like thing, if you planted it to get the seeds, not necessarily to eat the beans, but to get the beans to plant more bean plants, that goes after hashrasha, like the rice, millet, etc. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Afunim hagamlunim, the large afuna. Afuna in modern Ivrit is the chickpea, but these are big beans. Kiyotzi behen, that also has the same din. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Afunin hagamlunim, these large beans, mishetirmelu lifnei Rosh Hashanah. If they had a tirmol, is lashon carmel. I know carmel is in the psukim about Omer. They had this pod or this membrane around the bean itself. So by Omer we say carmel. It's like soft and malay. It's like ripe. But here this tirmelu is a related word. It means like they sort of have this pod around the bean before Rosh Hashanah. That would be the cutoff point according to Rabbi Elazar. Shkoyach Rabozai.